So let's go ahead and just be comfortable. There isn't any particular posture that you need to maintain. The most important thing is for you to come into a posture of receptivity, of engaged relaxation. So not to hold your body stiff or in any fixed way, but more in a relaxed way so that you can really feel into yourself. Feel the aliveness of you, feel your sensations, feel what's moving inside of you, what's opening, what might be closed, what's transforming, and just to develop this very fine attunement, a fine listening, a deep inner listening to what's happening inside of you, listening more to the source of you. So these meditations are an opportunity to set everything aside, to turn off technology, except of course the screen in front of you, and to just set aside all the to-do lists, all of the activity, and just take a moment to let the outer environment settle, to let everything go. And if there is something that's pressing on your mind, just say to yourself, I will attend to this later, that you will get to it. And now is an opportunity for you to be deeply nourished, to come into rest, to come into stillness, to come into acknowledging who you are in a very deep way. So go ahead and close your eyes. And it's a nice way to begin is to follow the breath very lightly. Just give a light invitation for the breath to move more fully through the body. Let your eyes be softly closed. Let your face relax. Soften around the jaw. Soften at the shoulders. Let the shoulders be relaxed and open. And invite the breath to move through the chest, the lungs. Fill out at the breastbone so that you can expand at the chest, allowing the heart to be soft. And let the breath flow down into the belly, deep into the hip carriage, expanding at the hips. And every time that you breathe here in the beginning, see if you can invite a little more width and depth. So the breath in a certain way is an invitation for more of you to be here, to include all aspects of you, feelings, sensations, every part of your body. So now we're coming into a space of noticing. Noticing how your feet land on the ground or the base of the body. And let yourself sense into the anchoring in the base. And if you aren't accustomed to breathing down all the way to the base of the body, let that happen. And let that invigorate a stability in your body. And allow there to be space between the vertebrae. So as you anchor down through the base of the body, through the ground, into the earth, feeling connected to the elements, that you can also at the same time feel a lifting up of the spine, where there's space between the vertebrae, where there's an opening in the backside of the heart, where there's width in the torso. So let yourself be lifted and at the same time anchored. Now go ahead and let go of the breathing, any effort to move the breath, and let it return to its normal rhythm, noticing that it might by itself now even be a little deeper, a little wider. And in the same way, excuse me, that you are able to let go of the breath, let go of any tendency to shift or try to change anything within you. So it's as if you, as awareness, as presence that's always here, are receding more as a backspace, a noticing. Although this noticing isn't actually happening from behind, it's all inclusive, it's the totality of you. So allow yourself to recede as this awareness that you are, noticing and allowing everything to be as it is. Now, sometimes we can get caught up in the mechanics of thought. Now, if this is happening for you and you're feeling a little bit of stickiness around the thoughts that are in the mind, see how much you can soften just through your allowance, knowing that thought isn't necessarily a problem, and it isn't necessary to suppress thought, deny that it's here, or push it away. Rather, allowing there to be space for the activity of thought. And noticing that as we give space, that the stickiness or the attending to thought also softens, it becomes less of a gravitational pull toward thought, and you can feel yourself expanding more as space, as if you're falling between the spaces between thought. It's a very enjoyable sensation to unhook from thought. In one sense, it feels very natural to allow thought to be just like any other sensation in the body. Just like the blood is moving and the breath is moving, and there isn't any need to control it or change it. There's this very wide, deep intelligence within all of us that is able to attend. You notice that naturally, as there isn't this attending to thought, that awareness settles more fully in the body, becomes more spacious, more wide, even though it's always that way. You just may notice it more fully. Mm. And this is the invitation for today's meditation, to be like space. Spaciousness is what allows for integration to happen. And as we continue, I'll say a little more about what I mean by that. And for each of us, this will be a little bit different. So stay with yourself. Stay with whatever may be presenting itself for you without attaching, without trying to change. In this posture of receptivity, allowance, and a very soft engagement, very much like love. Love is very present, it's very soft, it's a very alive quality. So I know for many of you that participate in my meditations, not only live, but also on retreats or satsangs. And I know for many that there's been a lot of change happening. And change is always good. So in the process of awakening, awakening is a shift in consciousness. It's a shift of softening around the identity of a separate individual ego entity that's in control. So when this kind of sense of separation begins to open and dissolve, it's actually the movement of consciousness calling any aspects of who we are that have been lying dormant, asleep, unconscious in some way, perhaps emotional suppression, perhaps experiences that we didn't have the resources to process at an earlier time, some blind spot, some negativity that had been repeating itself as a habit, or light to a dense pain body waking up. So when there's a shift, it can feel very sudden. There's an excitement with it because we're very aware that something is shifting, something is leaving. And at the same time, we don't know. It's the quality of the unknown, because we don't know what is in store for us. And that can be a bit unsettling or disquieting. So what we want to be able to attend to here is the idea that there is a collective gravitational pull toward unconsciousness. So when something is awakening, shifting, and becoming conscious, it's an important time for us to, for lack of a better word, I will say practice. To be engaged in some form of practice. And the reason for this is because as the awakening and the shifting is happening, that there's a restructuring also going on of the body, mind, emotional, and psychological systems. So something is emptying out, something that perhaps in our body we have held for a long time. It's been hanging around, dormant perhaps, suppressed. So it has muscle memory. So we want to give an opportunity for whatever is shifting and emptying to rinse out, to clear out fully. Now, this is especially true when working with our friends, the plants, because they have a wonderful ability, capacity to go into places of suppression or darkness and to navigate an openness, a release, a clearing, a cleaning. And there can be these moments of feeling unsettled in the shift. So the best thing that we can do is to give space for the muscle memory, for our psychology, our emotionality, all the memory in the body, in the blood, the cells, the bones, for that to have a chance to assimilate, to digest, to integrate the change. And we do this through stillness. Stillness and silence, offering space for you to evolve differently with growing capacities, is to rest in stillness. So when a moment may come where you feel unsettled and you don't know what to do because it's all so new, it all feels so different. So rather than get busy with some kind of agenda or some kind of plan, or maybe even just unconsciously getting busy because you don't know what else to do, see if you can give yourself a pause. Stop. To be quiet. To be in the quietude of you, where everything can settle, can be assimilated, can digest. So this is how integration happens in a way that we're supporting a restructuring to take place. The framework of how our mind operates is shifting. The framework in how we are with our emotions is shifting. Usually shifting from a mechanical way of reacting to a wider capacity that brings forth response, care, compassion, space, and the sensations in the body may also be shifting. There might be places in the body where you didn't feel alive. You lost touch, perhaps with your sexuality or your sensuality, or maybe even what true hunger feels like. Maybe your relationship to food was more mechanical or more to feed some kind of emotion. You may, in this restructuring, start to feel, wow, when you're actually hungry just for food. And the choices that you make about that may be shifting as well. Because at the same time, as this restructuring is happening and consciousness is waking to itself, you're being fortified with a true sense of worthiness, of self-love, of value of who you are as a human being. Maybe you disregarded yourself in the past or didn't find your wants and needs to be important, or you put somebody else's before your own. So this is where you get to listen and feel into what is it that you truly value? What's important that nourishes your humanity? And this is not selfish. And this is also where our spiritual concepts shift as awakening takes hold. At one time, you may have felt that it wasn't spiritual to have your own wants and needs, to put yourself first. And here, as this restructuring is happening, you feel that, wow, it only makes sense to put with clarity your needs and wants first, because the more clarity you have, the more self-worth you have, the more that you abide in your fullness, then you are an offering, a gift to others. And you can see with clarity what their needs are, and how to assist in a way that isn't a projection, isn't a layover. So in this restructuring, you come more and more into a space of very deep care. And this deep care begins with you. And as it fills itself out in you, it will naturally extend to others appropriately, because you're not separate. You're not different. And this is the aspect of awakening that we speak about as love. Love is natural to all of us. It's a way of being in relationship to all of humanity that has a sense of harmony to it, sense of effortless care. Of course. So it begins, though, here in this deepening, this restructuring of emptying out what isn't true. What has been unconscious comes into consciousness and gets clarified or cleared out, emptied out. As the lights turn on inside of you, and you give space for this to be felt in your blood, in your cells, in your bones, everywhere. This is the embodiment. And when we don't take time for this, it's too easy to get caught back up in the gravitational pull of busyness, of unconsciousness, of whatever you want to call it, of the disheartening activity of the world. It doesn't feel satisfying. It doesn't mean that you won't engage in the world. Of course you will, and in a way that is very different. So notice now in your body, just sensing, feeling, listening to aspects of you where you know that recently, or perhaps you're in the midst of a change, to become very familiar with what this shift feels like. And to notice that sometimes there may be a tendency to go upstairs into the mind of trying to figure things out, to try to understand something, to make sense, to come up with some new kind of agenda, to control in some shape or form. And just whenever that is happening, know it's not a problem. And just relax and settle back down here in the body and follow the feeling where it takes you. And just give space. Let yourself be wide. Maybe it's around a particular organ. Some people often talk about, like the liver emptying out, or your digestion changing in the stomach, or perhaps you notice the softening in the heart, where there's energy and breath moving in a way that it hadn't moved before. Let that integrate. Maybe in the low back. Often in the low back is a place where we can hold ourselves back. Or at the behind the heart where we can shrink back and not express our love. And just hang out in those areas. Not looking for anything in particular. Just feeling and sensing and listening. Space. Beautiful space. Do you feel yourself starting to, again, go into thought? Just breathe yourself back here, within yourself, beneath yourself, all the way to the ground, anchored, stable, Sometimes you can be right in the middle of a process of something opening, often in the belly, where the belly can, if there's been a holding pattern there of fear or a need to control, it can feel like a tight fist or a ball of energy. Just let that open without a concern for what might happen, knowing that you are existence itself, that what you are at your core can never be harmed. You are the continuous fabric of the universe, always here, never harmed, never wounded. And the experience of our humanity may have traversed great difficulty as well as great celebration. And the body wants to imbibe, live this, feel this. Let that happen. Maybe sometimes there's an emptying of tears, of old grief, or some old sorrow, or some joy that never had an opportunity to express. Such a wide, wide gamut of sensation and emotion that we can get so busy we forget to feel, forget to give space, deep nourishment that is long lasting, that can satisfy us deeply, much more than anything of this world. Because everything of this world comes and goes. What you are is infinite and already enough, already complete. So letting your humanity know this inside, in the blood, in the bones, in the cell, in the muscle memory, in your emotionality, in your psychology, in your biology. All of these aspects of being human that truly matter. You can't bypass your humanity. So integration is offering space to include, to allow, to assimilate, to simply be here as wholeness, as goodness, as a vessel, expression of love. So we're going to take a little time just to sit here and be, just be what you are already, already enough, already complete, a constant, infinite background of being grounded here, here, here. Okay. Thank you for that. So we have a few minutes just to talk a little bit more. I said quite a bit during the meditation, and we'll speak during the Zoom conversation. Um, it seems like just in having this experience, you get the point. So the point is to take some time, just to sit quietly with yourself and to listen. This is why retreats are so beneficial, whether it be a day-long retreat or a week-long retreat, if you can do that, because you're out of your ordinary environment with all of the different distractions. It's a sure way to come out of the gravitational pull toward unconsciousness, yourself, along with other people that are interested in the very same thing. So you have this, fortified collective consciousness supporting, whatever it is that is the next leg in your journey, the next part. And on the retreats that I do, we often also use many other elements to support opening and letting go and giving plenty of space for integration. So it's really taking the time to settle and to rest and to listen inside of yourself rather than the old ways that we get pulled out into old behaviors, old ways of being. And here, a new way of being can emerge and evolve. And you can stay with the truth of you. You can stay with your heart. You can stay with what's the most important thing for you. And often when we come onto a retreat, that's the question, that's the invitation to clarify what is the most important thing? What matters more than anything else? And as we continue to clarify what we aspire to, whether it be called spiritual or not, just as what is it we want for humanity. And the more clear we are on that, and we follow through on that with dedication, with earnestness, giving our authority over to anything on the outside, we're really coming into contact with our inner authority, led how we're being how we're unfolding. Then you are integrating spirit consciousness into the whole of you, nothing missing.